Deep in the void, at the coordinates of nowhere cubed, there's a dust ball of a planet. On this planet is a single, solitary city. It's known as the market. On the market, you can get anything or anyone. It's a slave market that's always running. They're running around collecting product, running it back to the market to sell, running to grab customers, and running to find anyone that will take up the leftovers. All this is difficult as those that are product learn quickly to run away and hide, and eventually they might even fight back. Thankfully, for those who are procuring said products, most of these fights are negligible at best. Getting these products back in time is also difficult, as many will deliberately hurt themselves as to not be sold, or sometimes they even prefer self-termination above being sold. To this end, it's also fairly common for a buyer to demand return of payment, as the slave will self-terminate after seeing who or what the buyer is. Yet once the sale is complete, it's the buyer's responsibility to keep them alive. This is one of the reasons why it's getting difficult to keep return customers. The business is still quite lucrative, but a customer lost rarely ever returns. Due to this, the business is not as lucrative as one would believe. They need to send ships and crews out to market the slave market, as they can only bring results once they have confirmation of containment of whatever product is reached. This gives a very, very small window, outside pre-made requests of course, to actually get the products back in time before they might spoil. The hustle and the budget is quite high for this, much higher than most actually realize, as you need to constantly pamper the potential customers. The final part was difficult. The leftover showed as a loss in wealth and income. Anyone not sold showed that the clientele that they could not find quality enough to be sold. This alone has the potential of scaring away potential customers, meaning additional losses. This used to be one of the most difficult areas to cover, that is, until the humans. Originally, the humans were slotted to be slaves, left to mature in their numbers until ready to be harvested in sufficient amounts, though something went wrong. A strange device that seemed to hit them as they came through, a device projecting a strong gravimetric and electromagnetic force that would damage the collection vessels and probes, forcing them to crash. A loss of vessels forced the plan of collection to be delayed more and more and more. Eventually, the only things able to be collected from humans were due to the use of the tri-orb probes. These probes could actually move well enough to avoid the human weapons and avoid capture, and thankfully they were able to capture at least one of the terrestrial aircraft. At least that was something for their troubles. Yet it was soon discovered that the leaders of this species had actually let this happen as a way to examine the probes that they call drones. It wasn't too long after this that human populations were finally told what was going on. And when the human population finally received the proof of non-human intelligent species, they became fiercely territorial. Not a single probe could enter the planet without being fired upon. With each loss, the humans released more tech to their own personnel. At this point, seeming to spite the will of the universe, the humans gained the ability to live for eons without seeing themselves age due to time. Yet they fought against each other constantly. The survivors came out stronger and more militarily advanced. Nowadays, no one enters their territory, nor do the humans ever leave their territory. That is, unless they're coming to the market. The humans will enter the market and purchase nothing at first. They concern everybody with those strange exoskeletal machines that they always wear. No one has actually seen what a human looked like outside of old still images and recordings in over a century. Even the eyes of the humans are covered by a reflective shield as though to force someone to watch themselves to see their own fear when facing a human. Humans usually sit and wait. They wait for the auction to end. Only once has a human ever bid during the auction. They bid on a young centripe female that was horrified at the idea of the mechanical creature possessing her. Then again, the insectoid Raz just wanted her for its dinner. So it was hell either way. The mechanical voice from the suit shocked everybody with the bid as it stood up as though to pronounce itself. It actually shocked them all so much that the bids halted in that moment. After the sale, the human simply walked into the back, paid its bid, and tore open the cage as though it was made out of the most desired human food stuff known, Jello, and then stuck its hand out through the torn bars, reaching out towards the little female. She was so frightened in that moment she urinated herself, but the human didn't move until she reached out herself and took its hand. The last anyone ever saw of this centripe female, the human was actually carrying it in one arm towards the ship as another, smaller human simply seemed to stand there in the doorway of the ship, seemingly waiting, and then give some sort of arm movement. No one heard any voices and assume it's either technology or telepathy that they speak with each other. However, this is an exception. Normally, the humans just wait until the leftovers are taken into the disposal area. From there, they are left on display as a final chance to anyone to bid on them. This is where humans arrive. They never seem to argue with each other, as though they have somehow figured out exactly what and who they wish to purchase. However, it's of note that when a human actually offers some sort of payment, it's good to take it and not anger them. A low offer from a human is actually much better than nothing, yet every so often, a greedy newcomer will attempt to negotiate a far too high of a price. These are usually reptilians, yet rarely from the same species twice. Some demand twice as much as other products in the auction sold for, even though they're warned that dealing with a species that has little issue genociding its own, it would be wise not to make them angry. In one instance, an adolescent reptilian Zip was in the cage when a Draco demanded nearly 3 times what the other Zip went for. When the human refused to pay it, the adolescent male felt the heat for less than a moment as the Draco had hit the switch and incinerated the Zip right there. The Draco did this in front of the human, claiming, "I set the price." Not even a moment after he said this, the human's metal hand quickly grabbed the Draco by the neck and forced it down towards the ground in a very uncomfortable position, as it seemed to be almost folding itself towards the floor. An avian Lesh arrived to see what was going on as he was in charge of the floor. The human actually asked, "How much is this one's life worth?" The Lesh immediately quoted a price, which was only about 25% of what the Draco was trying to gouge. The human simply said, "Deal," and then crushed the neck of the Draco with such force that the head actually fell off. After that, this story has been passed down to assure that there's always a good and fair deal, and also the humans are there to purchase, but don't piss them off. Humans tend to buy every single leftover species, regardless of species, spec, special containment concerns. They only ask for a point of origin of the species, information that is known to be common, so it actually doesn't actually have a price tag. And since the deal is already done, this information is nothing to give up. The humans always pay immediately. They hate control collars or control chips. Once the payment is done, never, ever get in their way. That's a quick way to lose a limb or two, especially if you try to take whatever they just purchased. Once the humans are loaded, they simply leave. The only times they will actually delay their departure is when an owner approaches and wanting to sell something they just ordered, or a previous slave tries to barter passage off this rock and away from the market. Human goods are fairly valuable, so even something as simple as a human appliance could be used for barter, though it's usually human fuel. Because of the method of creation still being unknown to everyone else, and the fact that the fuel is extremely potent, it just takes about a liter or two of this fuel to purchase a slave from its owner. It is of note that some will actually purchase at the market just to turn around and sell it back to the humans. Because of this, human ships usually leave nearly as full as when they arrived. The former slaves will offer anything to get away from the market. It seems though humans will accept just about anyone. Yet it is odd that they can actually tell a plant from another species. Someone who wants to actually smuggle their own people on and learn the human secrets. It's speculated that they can smell fear or the intention of the one trying to sneak on, or they can feel the recovery beacon that's implanted in the body. Either way, the humans can immediately tell and they will immediately turn away, not saying anything. Only once has anyone actually tried to grab the human to get his attention again. However, that human immediately spun the arm around and ripped the third arm off the Galaxian. That is how the humans have been, and that's the way the market has worked. But in this moment, a message comes in. There is now a major issue with the supply. Multiple species have suddenly become more aggressive and much more dangerous. Most of the highest value products have begun fighting back. Not just that, but fighting back effectively. Multiple groups of capture teams have been lost. Former slave species now organized and engaging ships on approach before they even get to the ground. Those that actually get to the ground are reporting excessive losses to equipment and personnel. At this rate, the market will end up going into the red and eventually will financially collapse. And then this rock will be nothing. And the planet will simply just take back everything that's there. Taking a detailed look at the species involved, it's clear that these are usually leftover species, or species that are only slaves for a short while. With this realization, the chair lizard of the market screamed out loud, "Ugh! Will you keep your hands off the market, you damn dirty humans?" Hello everybody, this is Syntax. Thank you for joining me today on this short story. Now before I go, I need to say that today's winner has been Julius Boone. I also need to mention that with this story in particular, I wanted to use a little bit more subtext and not just throw everything in your face. Hopefully you guys understood what was going on at the end. If not, by all means, throw any critiques, comments, concerns down the comment section. Now, I need to throw out some great big thank yous to the supporters of this channel, because without you, I wouldn't be doing this. Sir, Prozac and Pancakes, SS Demon, Brian Kemp, MTF Guard, Guardian Sage, Douglas Scarborough, Erica Gem, and Julius Boone. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. Everybody else, I'll see you on the next one. This is Syntax, punching out.